Brett Sockold here, helping you make every class Catholic. In my work with teachers, there's two questions I know that I can ask. I can ask the start of the question, and teachers can always finish it for me because it's questions students ask them all the time. One is, will this be on the test? And a second one is, when am I, and teachers all know, ever going to use this? And so I want to share an answer I have for students. When they say, when am I ever going to use this? I like to say, you're using it now. If we get into the game of every particular piece of knowledge or every skill you learn, you're actually going to end up using at some point in your life, that's a losing game. Now, there is a kind of intermediate position that has some legitimacy where we can talk about, perseverance or something like that, that you gain from it, that you gain some skill that is transferable. Actually, the transferable skill is the intermediate level, but the virtue goes more to the point, right? And the answer I give to when am I ever going to use this is, you're using it now. This is a legitimate practice, not because you're going to grow up to use this in your day job or it's something you're going to need around the house or anything like that, but because you are not only a person who's oriented towards the future, but you are a person who is doing something now, and what you do now shapes who you become, right? All of us are in the process of becoming more or less the person God is calling us to be. There's just no way around it. And how we engage with every single thing, right? How we play in this soccer tournament that we've got this weekend, how I think about shooting this video and all the technical difficulties that I might have with the camera or the microphone, or how I'm going to deal with supper tonight when it doesn't taste as good as I thought it might, or maybe I cooked it and it doesn't taste as good as I thought it might, and then I have to deal with that, right? Doesn't matter. Take anything that you're doing, and through your way of encountering it, you are becoming more or less the person God is calling you to be. And so no matter what you're studying, which is why it's legitimate, by the way, to study almost anything. Now, you can't study all the things. There's just way too many things. But when we're faced with choices about which books to read or which science concepts belong at this age in the curriculum or whatever it is, there are some things that are important because they're sequential, right? Math skills are the most sequential. If you don't learn these math skills at this age, then you're not going to be able to do the next math skills at that other age. But outside of things that are sequential like that, there's just a ton of good things you could learn. And it's very hard to choose between them. And you can take a little pressure off yourself by recognizing that it kind of doesn't matter. Because if it's good content, God can use it to shape you into the person he's calling you to be. There's hundreds of great books. Read some of them. Don't read mediocre books when there's so many great books. But out of the great books, doesn't matter which one you pick. Same with anything you might study in health or social studies, or there's just so much good stuff we don't need to worry. But no matter what we're studying, the primary question isn't utility at some point in the imagined future, which is tough to predict and not really the only thing we're after here anyways, but it's becoming a certain kind of person. And this is kind of sometimes I call this the seek ye first principle. If you chase utility for its own sake, you probably won't even get utility. If you chase virtue, if you chase becoming a certain kind of person, you get utility. It comes along for the ride. And so because we have the students with us for the long term, my answer to the question, when am I ever going to use this? You're using it today might not be a great answer if they heard it once and never got to engage with it, and then it just felt like I was dodging the question. But if you have people for the long term, and if you can use that as an opportunity to engage in a conversation about the bigger goals of education being the formation of the person and not simply about the transmission of knowledge or skills, and then that's built to, from K to 8 or K to 12 or even over the course of one academic year, then an answer like that can force you to think about what it is that you're doing and be part of a broader conversation about the goals of education more generally, right? So take that question that the kids always ask and use it as an opportunity to put a bigger question in front of them, the nature of education and the value of education in general. Hope this has been helpful for you. God bless.